What is up, wrestling fans? Welcome to another Pay-Per-Viewpoint. I want to cry. For the Smark Out Moment Smack Talk podcast, it is time to talk about Extreme Rules 2019. WWE's event is coming up this Sunday after Evolve 131, after AEW's Fight for the Fallen. We will be talking about what is happening on the card, which may change because things happen. If you check out our Fight for the Fallen thing, right after we got done, they added a match, and then now they've added another match, and then possibly another match. So if Extreme Rules has more than 10 matches, I don't know, we can't do anything more than this. So who are we? Well, I am your host, as always, Tony Mango, and joining me as always are Robert D. Felice.
Hello.
And Callum Wiggins.
It's just a case of predicting Extreme Rules.
Well, here's the thing. It's really a case of extreme exhaustion. You know?
Yeah, I was waiting for the,
When it boils down to it.
Yeah, that's. I was like, wait a minute, which ones do I say? Boils down to. We have our catchphrases. Yeah, Extreme Rules. We've had like 9 of these, I think, by now. It's been quite a bit. This is one of the longest reigning ones that they've been doing.
I think the first official Extreme Rules was 2010, right? Or did they start it in 2009?
Let's see what Wikipedia says. 2009. So yeah, this is the 10th one.
What? I have to ask, because even though before we break down the entire thing, why is this event called Extreme Rules when only 3 of the 10 matches have any kind of extreme stipulation attached to them?
Well, that's kind of something I wanted to get into, yeah. It's the idea that Extreme Rules used to be every match on the card has some kind of a gimmick. And eventually that went away and it just became, well, some of the matches on the card have an extreme gimmick of some kind. And then it became, well, maybe some of the matches are just no DQ. And now at this point, we've got 10 matches that are on the card officially, at least at the moment. And they're all kind of doing that same thing that I bitch about all the time, which is you can only call it whatever names you want to call it. It's still a no DQ match. Like, we have no official stipulation for the SmackDown tag team match. We have, but it's no DQ by default because triple threat matches are no DQ.
But they're going to be standing on the apron. Because, you still got to tag in to get in because that's breaking the rules. If you don't,
Well, this was originally going to be called Breaking the Rules instead of Extreme Rules.
No, it's the idea. I tweeted about this like a couple of days ago, just saying like, why isn't it just called Rules?
Yeah. Well, we have the last man standing match. We have a triple threat that'll be no DQ, but they'll probably try to ignore that to a certain extent. A 2-on-1 handicap match, which is not really extreme. And a no holds barred match, which is just no DQ, but with another name. And an Extreme Rules mixed tag team match, which is another no DQ match with no extra name. So they could have had a lot more fun with this. It could have been like Gulak and Nice in an I Quit match. And Ricochet and AJ Styles in a something on a pole match. And Aleister Black and Cesaro in a, it wouldn't make any sense, but like a boiler room brawl, like that could have been more engaging, I think. Because I don't look at this and think that there's anybody looking at this card and that they're going, oh man, it's going to be wild, No,
like, I know you guys were talking about obviously the fact that you're not particularly infused about the Fight for the Fallen card. This has got me so much less infused than Fight for the Fallen, just because I kind of know what I'm going to get with most of these matches, and it's not exactly exciting.
Well, they could have done a cage match somewhere if they didn't exhaust that in 2 of the last 3 pay-per-views. They seem to just forget that, we have these other shows coming up that could really use the stipulations because that's the whole draw of the pay-per-view. I think this year the draw is, well, hey, you like Becky and Seth, right? And we got the Undertaker.
Yeah, that's kind of it.
That's all it is.
To be fair, I do think that like some of these matches are going to be really good, and on paper, you give me something like Black Cesaro and Kingston and Joe, and it's like that's a draw to me to a certain extent. But as far as like presenting the whole package to somebody who doesn't know these people, it doesn't seem like it's all that special.
I'm just hoping this sets the precedent for the year going forward, where we have like Night of Champions and only 2 title matches are on the card.
Well, we do have Clash of Champions coming up.
Yeah,
they need to just start dropping these names. I know they won't do it, and I say this every time there's a gimmick show, but it hurts the pay-per-views because that's what people immediately go to. Well, it's Extreme Rules, but the card isn't really that extreme.
I've been saying it for the longest time. TLC needs to go away because it's stupid to begin with, because the TLC match is just a ladder match. There's no difference whatsoever. Fight me on it. And the name of the event is stupid, and it's stupid that every year it's just kind of like, well, these people are feuding, so this one's a chairs match and whatever, like that kind of thing. Hell in a Cell doesn't need to be a yearly long thing, and it could just be whenever they decide that they want to have a Hell in a Cell match, they do it. It doesn't need to be like every October we have Hell in a Cell matches. And Extreme Rules should be either you give them all those extreme matches, or they get rid of that name as a pay-per-view, and they just use that name instead of saying no disqualification, no count out, whatever like that. They just say it's an Extreme Rules match. Like, that's just the overall arcing term for we have some kind of a gimmick, because they can't call it like this is going to be a gimmick of whatever, because then it's kind of defeating the whole suspension of disbelief and stuff. So just call that Extreme Rules as like, what kind of Extreme Rules stipulation is going to be on this, or you know what I mean? Like, we're gonna compete this under Extreme Rules, and the stipulation is going to be that I don't know, you got to wear a boot on your foot and you have to hop on the other leg. Like, I don't know, that would be an Extreme Rule. Like, that could be like that kind of thing. Not a pay-per-view that comes around that you have to shoehorn in certain things or completely ignore.
I think at this point they should just stick to either Street Fight or no DQ, because the term Extreme Rules is simply trying to play on ECW nostalgia, and I think we're well beyond the point of that.
Well, the match itself, yeah, that should be like Street Fight. But I mean, Extreme Rules could be like, how like
no,
when
but
they
even
used
if
to
you
have...
use it in the context you're describing, you're trying. Like, I'm picturing the only person who could do that and deliver it well would be Heyman, because when you use extreme in that context, you're trying to get that ECW pop.
I think they're well past the ECW thing at this point.
Yeah, they didn't just bring him back to run one of the shows or anything, did they?
Well, I mean,
totally
that's
over
not
the ECW thing. They're not even over ECW at this
They didn't
point.
have him cut a promo on Monday going, I know something about Extreme in Philadelphia. Yeah!
No, I mean, like, I don't think that they are looking at Extreme Rules as an ECW thing. I think that they fully look at that as this is WWE branding.
Oh, they absolutely see it as WWE branding, but they do it as a way to try and trick the ECW fans to try and come back.
Well, they did a good job of doing that with no stipulations to these matches and stuff.
Oh, yeah, obviously, but they're not good at their jobs.
Yeah, that's the problem here. I do think that this card has a lot of potential behind it, despite that. Because that's let's be honest, that's weighing this down, and it's making it seem like it's not all that special. But I think that if you look match by match, which of course we're going to do here, and we invite you to do the same in the comments below, I think that this has a lot of potential to have some really fun matches to it. There's a couple that are going to be duds, for sure. And it's kind of like a three-way split. There's some that I think are guaranteed to just not work all that well. Some that could go one way or the other, and some that I think are maybe not a certainty to be great, but at least has a ton of potential. So
as I look at this card, there's only 2 matches that I think will be duds, and one of them is due to injury.
Oh, maybe that's different then from my outlook. Very interesting. Very interesting. We don't know what match is going to be on the kickoff yet, but we can assume that it's probably going to be the Cruiserweight Championship because it's the Cruiserweights. They pretty much always put them on the pre-show in some fashion.
But
it is in Philly.
Yeah.
That's the thing. So Drew Gulak is from Philadelphia, and I would think, just to, if not switch things up, that it would make more sense to put this not on the pre-show, so that way people could see it, because these guys are going to put on a decent match and everything, and to maybe put something like, I don't know, the Usos and the Revival on the pre-show instead. Like, they're going to put on a good match, but that one doesn't have a whole lot of steam behind it, you know? That's the one that I would go with. What do you think?
I'd personally go with the Cruiserweight match. I know Drew Gulak's from Philadelphia, but frankly, who knows that Drew Gulak is from Philadelphia?
Philadelphians in the crowd.
Yeah, maybe. I think that's probably still up in the air.
The commentary team's going to for sure remind everybody.
Well, moreover than that, I think if you go with this match on the main show, you can plug the shit out of Evolve.
That's already happened.
Night. Yeah, that's the previous one.
Yeah, but they always try to do that with the network. Oh, well, hey, you can go back on the network and look at this. We did this cool thing.
Also, isn't it weird that that's one of the only WWE Network shows they like promote ahead of time? They never even promote NXT on WWE Raw, but yet they're promoting the show that's going head to head with a show that's going to place with the competition. It's really there's such an amazing coincidence that all this stuff is really happening. I don't understand it.
See, the stars align. Heyman's in charge.
Yeah, it must be that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Gulak is defending the Cruiserweight Championship. He thankfully won that at Stomping Grounds by beating Akira Tozawa, not Tony Nese. So that's kind of the story for this, even though they haven't really put too much focus of it on 205 Live. Nese is basically like, hey, you didn't really pin me, so I'm going to try to get my title back, that kind of a thing. But he can't. Gulak has to retain here. It 100% has to stay on him. If not, just because he's the better character and the better performer overall. But I think this will be a good match. I actually think that this might be better than the one with Tozawa, even though that match was really good. And that's not a knock on Tozawa either. I got a feeling like these two might work pretty well together.
The match with Tozawa was really good. I'm gonna ask this prior to and probably day of the show as well. How much better would this match do the night before in front of the Evolve crowd instead of on the kickoff of Extreme Rules?
Depends how hot the crowd is for Extreme Rules. Because the crowd's going to be hot for Evolve. But if there's like a, tiny amount of people there in comparison, then that might make a big difference,
Yeah. I'm going with Gulak. There's no reason to take the belt off him anytime soon. And I don't care about Tony Nese.
Yeah, it's part of the reason why I want it to be on the kickoff show, just because it's Tony Nese. I'm sure he's a nice guy. The experiment has just completely failed with him as Cruiserweight champion and now meant to be a babyface to root for. I don't see any reason to root for him. I find myself constantly rooting for Drew Gulak in this situation, which is totally the opposite of why it should be. But Drew Gulak's great and Tony Nese is just there. So I have no doubt it'll be a good match, but I'd probably be paying like 50% attention to it when I do watch it.
Who do you guys think is the next challenger? Because I got to assume that it's probably Oney Lorcan or Gentleman Jack Gallagher. But with all these changes coming up, I mean, we could see a lot of things. Like, they had that whole thing with Apollo Crews and Chad Gable where they were kind of like teasing that they would be a tag team, and they haven't been doing that the past couple of weeks. And then they had that match with Gable and Gallagher, and Gable hasn't been on 205 Live. So it's like, well, are they just kind of holding off on that? Did they change plans? Did both those things drop? Because I would personally like to see Gulak versus Gallagher, then Gulak versus Lorcan, because I think that Lorcan needs a little bit more time to kind of build some steam. And then Gable be the one that beats Gulak at, like, WrestleMania. That's what I would go with.
I think they're going to push Humberto Carrillo.
Ugh, I hope not.
Well, they're giving him video packages and like squash matches on 205 Live. They're clearly giving him some kind of they see something in him that certain other people don't.
If that's the case, I hope that he's just one of those, like, he gets pushed out of the way and it's not like not Survivor Series, SummerSlam.
I kind of get the feeling that he's their next experiment.
Boo. Thumbs down. We're all going Gulak.
Mm-hmm.
So don't let us down, Gulak. The Raw Tag Team Championship is on the line. The Revival is defending against the Usos, and a match that was announced by the Usos just going, hey, we got a match on this Sunday. And then it took them a whole day to put that up on the website or confirm in any kind of fashion. So it goes to show how little they care about this match, which this has been going on for how long now, this feud? Like, when did they start this whole thing with the stupid Usi hot and all that?
Since the dawn of time.
Seems like it, God. And under different circumstances, I would be a lot more into this, but even though I know that the Revival and the Usos are very dependable for having great matches, and that likelihood that they can have a great match here is really high, I just don't care, and I want them to move on, you know? I saw a tweet that Dawson was complaining about. Somebody had said, hey, the Revival versus Usos for the 600th time, and he was like, we only wrestled twice in a standard tag team match. Well, if you have to specify that and you're ignoring all of the, it's Jimmy Uso against Scott Dawson, and it's the 6-man tag team match, and it's this backstage brawl segment. It's like, yeah, you might have only wrestled twice in this type of capacity, but you've wrestled however many times in other ways, I think that gets lost on people.
But I think that's frustration on Dawson's part of people complaining, oh man, I don't want to see this again, when they're like, man, we barely got a chance to show you what we could have really done in this format, and we know that they beat it into the ground, but just let us do our thing. We'll entertain you, we promise.
Maybe. I don't know. I just think that it's kind of like, you should be able to see where the complaint's coming from instead of, I don't know, like, straw manning it. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to nitpick and be like, yeah, it's only been that, like, actually, I'm trying to look it up right now. And if you count house shows, I mean, that's another thing too. If you count house shows, it's like 1 million. But, even just I'm on Cage Match for anybody the Cage Match is the best website when it comes to looking up things like this. I'm seeing they had their 2 out of 3 falls match with Elias and The Miz also in the mix. They had a house show match with Hawkins and Ryder and the Viking Raiders. There's like 100 different examples of these kind of things.
But still, I get what you're saying, that they should be aware of why people are complaining, and I think they are. It's just, hey, come on, we're trying to give you the best with what we have to work with here. And it's very obvious, as you both have stated already, that WWE doesn't care about this match or tag teams, and they never have, for whatever fucking reason. But it's still the Revival on the Usos, and I still think they can put on a damn good match. I'm going the Usos, by the way.
I mean, I'm looking forward to the match just because it's the Revival in a standard tag team match, and hopefully they just don't fuck around with it too much. I don't think they will. The main issue will be the fact that there's 10 matches on this card, so how much time can they really devote to it without this show getting into the 4 or 5 hour territory already? I just say that the Revival win just because they're already champions going into it, but this is one where you can kind of go either way. And yeah, just hopeful for a good match. That's pretty much it, really.
So for reference, they've had 6 matches against each other in some fashion in the past month and a half. That's what it is. That's not counting house shows.
That's still not as exhausting as a lot of the things that we see.
Yeah, but yeah,
dude, we've seen Ricochet versus AJ Styles 3 times in the last 4 weeks.
I know that's another problem when it comes to some other things like that. You shouldn't do things and try to beat them down into the ground before you do the thing. I am very much a proponent of the first match is the one that seems the most enticing, unless you've proven that it's so amazing that you can't wait to see a second one. Like, I apply it to movies, even to a certain extent. Like, the first time that there was an Iron Man movie, it was like, wow, they're going to do an Iron Man movie? I don't know if this is going to work right, and whatever, to a certain extent. And at the same time, wow, they're going to do an Iron Man movie. That seems like it's going to be awesome. And then when they proved that they did it right, then it was like, I can't wait for Iron Man 2. And Iron Man 2 had its problems, and then it was like, I don't know about Iron Man 3. Well, I've seen the Revival and the Usos enough to know that they're both great tag teams. So, unless they screw this over on time, this should be a good match. But is it going to be anything better than what I've seen at the Super Showdown kickoff? Probably not.
Maybe the crowd will help.
So I would have liked to have seen a stipulation for this. I think that's where that Extreme Rules gimmick thing, they're falling short on. If this would have been the Revival against the Usos in, I don't know what type of match.
An Usi hot on a pole match.
Even a tag team turmoil match.
No.
Like, even that is like, you're not trying at all. But at least it kind of makes it seem like it's something different instead of just, hey, we're going to do that match that we did at the Saudi Arabia show. We're doing that again.
Well, here's why I don't like the idea of tag team turmoil. There's still a division, kind of, in terms of the championships. So unless they plan on throwing in Ryder and Hawkins and the Viking Raiders and the SmackDown tag teams, you don't really have enough for a tag team turmoil. I think this match would have benefited from a tag team cage match.
I'm thinking Tornado tag team. That's what I'm thinking. Where it's like everybody's just in the ring.
Tornado tag would be better. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm thinking of that.
That would be great.
Not turmoil. Turmoil's when you add the other people.
But I assume that's what we're getting with the Undertaker, Rowan Reigns, Shane, and Drew McIntyre match because that's no holds barred.
See, I disagree. I think that entire match is built on a hot tag.
Well, yeah, but it's still again, we'll get to that when we get to it, but it's fucking stupid. It's no holds barred. You don't have to stand on the fucking apron.
Right. Yeah, that's another problem when it comes to that. But even that, it's still just generic no DQ matches, and it would be so much more fun if it was like some other kind of thing, like the I Quit stipulations, or not that I'm a big advocate of these, but when they have things like an ambulance match, or a stretcher match, or you know what I mean? Like those are things that make it like they're problematic in a lot of ways, but they make it seem like it's got something to it.
Could have even like a submission match or something like that. You'd build it up properly, but I guess none of these would really. I guess the Drew Gulak Tony Nese would be the only one that could kind of merit a submission stipulation. I would quite like it if Drew Gulak's gimmick was that he only defends his title in submission matches.
Yeah, or if they wouldn't have already killed this whole 2 out of 3 falls thing, if the Revival and the Usos had a 2 out of 3 falls match. Even that would just be something a little bit different.
But we've seen way too many of those, I think.
I hate that. That's driving me crazy. This whole thing of like, this one is going to be an elimination match for no reason or whatever. I don't like this idea of wrestling shouldn't happen on the commercial breaks. It doesn't do anything for me as a viewer.
I think, as I said yesterday on the Fight for the Fallen show, where I feel like that company would benefit from TV and not just throwing random matches onto a card. This is the other end of the extreme where the company does the same matches too many times, so it's completely ineffective on pay-per-view.
But what's curious about this, though, or what I'm curious about, I guess you could say instead, if this is our last show, supposedly, I don't know how much stock you want to put into this, but, you know, rumor mill says this is the last show before they start switching things up around a lot. Does Paul Heyman have the Revival as his go-to tag team champions, or does he have the Usos?
I don't think he cares.
He is the Viking Raiders.
Yeah, I think he just has whatever. He just uses the pieces as and when he wants to, and I think he's always taken that mentality. He accentuates the positives and he holds back negatives. I don't think he sees either the Revival as the Usos as somebody who could, or like one of these teams should be the tag team champions right now. I think he just sees two great teams that could both be champions at any time.
No, I mean, like, if he has like a storyline in place or something.
Well,
like,
unfortunately, I can't climb in his head, so I have no idea where.
Well, yeah, but I mean, like, that's what I'm curious about, because that's what we're gonna see here. Because if the Usos win the titles, he's doing that for a reason, you know.
Oh, yeah, I imagine that everything is based around, at least in part, through suggestions of people like Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff, as well as Vince McMahon and everyone else that's usually involved in these decisions. But also, I've been conditioned over time to think that the result could be completely overturned the very next night. Or, like, we could see the Usos win this and then they lose it 8 days later in just a random Raw match or whatever. It's just, I don't feel any long-term consistency in any real storylines at the moment, especially if the plans it's been reported that there's now no plan for SummerSlam, that they were previously there because they want to give Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff a clean slate, which is totally fine, but it also means that basically anything we see in this card could just be reversed within the next 2 weeks.
But that being said, I think that's a good move for acts like Revival and the Usos, who maybe weren't figured into SummerSlam at all, you know?
Well, they might still not be.
I think maybe I'm giving them too much credit out of optimism, but I think Paul Heyman knows that tag team wrestling is valuable.
Just for shits and giggles, because obviously we don't know if this is something that's like another superstar shakeup is happening, or the wild card rule is getting changed up in some fashion, or whatever the case may be. We have no idea what their plans are. If you were in Heyman's position and they were to say, look, this is our Extreme Rules card. We can't change the card, but you can pick who wins and you can tell us where you want to go in the future. What do you think that you would do with the tag team titles? You got the Revival, you got the Usos, Hawkins and Ryder, AOP, Viking Raiders, B-Team, all these different types of people in the mix. What would you do for SummerSlam?
I would probably extend this through SummerSlam, but put it in like a cage there and build up the Viking Raiders on TV for the fall.
Unify the belt. Put the Revival against the New Day. And merge the belts.
Well, now you've taken Tony's answer. What's he going to say?
Actually, I wouldn't have done that. My very first thing would have been, can we get new belts?
Yeah.
Because I fucking hate these belts.
Well, if you merge them, you can create a new belt.
Well, no, they would just give one star a red belt and the other one a blue belt.
Oh, God, that would be so terrible.
That'd be awful. Don't do that.
Even worse is if they, like, cut the leather strap in half.
Oh, and half of it.
So it's half of it's red and half of it's blue. That'd be disgusting. Ugh. Or they made some kind of like weird purplish, muddy kind of hybrid. It's just like, oh. I mean, I think I would, if you limited me to just like not switching the rosters around, because I don't think that this wild card rule is a good idea. I think that I would probably say, look, it's an easy thing and it's lazy, but at the same time, it gets people talking. How about we either do a tournament that leads up to a tag team title match at SummerSlam, or we just say, fuck it, let's showcase all these tag teams and have like a fatal 4-way at SummerSlam. These two teams, Viking Raiders and I don't know, whatever other babyface tag team there is that you could put on there. Hawkins and Ryder, I guess. Well, Street Profits I want to keep in NXT.
Well, you don't have a choice in that, man. Because it's clear what Paul Heyman wants, and that he wants Street Profits on Raw. And you told us to get in Paul Heyman's mind, and that's what Paul Heyman wants, clearly.
Well, I mean, you have easier access to Paul Heyman's mind now that he cut off the ponytail.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure.
We've got Brock Lesnar on speed dial. Tell him to stay home.
Call him up and go, Brock Lesnar rule, and hang up.
And you know what? He'd go, yeah, I rule. Yeah.
He'd be like, I ain't picking up that phone. I'm thinking that the Revival still retain here. Part of me thinks that they're going to make this something that they can kind of piggyback off of with the whole Shane McMahon thing a little bit more. And that the whole reason that it's on the card is just to give the heel side a victory.
Yeah, I'm going Revival as well.
And I'm different, and I'm going the Usos.
Let's change your name to Different DeFelice.
Oh.
Mark Different.
Mark Different DeFelice.
We had a whole knock-knock joke situation play out. Turns out the punchline was Cesaro.
Better than Braden Walker.
God, imagine if Braden Walker would have popped up. That would have been amazing. Aleister Black is sitting there like, I want somebody to pick a fight with me. And then it's knock knock, Braden Walker. I want to kick your teeth down your throat or whatever. I would mark out so much. It would be amazing. But Aleister Black is facing Cesaro, and I'm 100% down for it. This could be one of the best matches of the night. It could be something that they can carry forward past this point if it ends up being really great. I just like it.
I think it's obviously it's going to almost certainly be a great match because these two are great. It's quite obvious why they've been building Cesaro up a bit for the last couple of weeks. It's to essentially just be the opponent of Aleister Black. And Aleister Black, I mean, the issue with this falls back to the similar thing that we said on Fight for the Fallen. The issue is that it's a foregone conclusion. Aleister Black wins this match.
At least it should be, because if Black loses after doing the whole, like, I want somebody to pick a fight with me because I'm a badass and nobody can do that, and then Cesaro's just like, I'll do it, and then he beats him.
Yeah, exactly. It's stupid.
You know?
You just get the same sort of situation of like, oh yeah, Kenny's got to beat Shima. It still could be a great match, but we know Kenny's going to beat Shima, and we know Adam Page is going to beat Kip Sabian. Still could be a good match. And this one, like, oh yeah, we know this is almost certainly going to be a great match, but we know that Aleister Black's going to beat Cesaro.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it boils down to, as I repeat my fucking phrase.
Yeah, so, but that doesn't mean it's a terrible thing to have. It should still be a fun match to watch. I think it'll be one and done, though. I don't see it continuing on forward. I think Cesaro's specific goal for this was to build himself up to lose to Aleister Black, and then he'll build himself back up again. Maybe just, I think at the moment he's in a situation where Cesaro is the mid-card scaler, essentially. So essentially, one week he can be right at the lower card, being defeated by, I don't know, Ricochet, or just having a 50-50 match with Apollo Crews or something along those lines. And then a couple of weeks later, he could be testing people
Seth
like
Rollins.
Seth Rollins and stuff like that. He just goes up and down the card as and where it suits him or where he needs to be placed.
Much like the Revival and the Usos, I think Cesaro can really benefit from the Paul Heyman, Eric Bischoff regime. Heyman is obviously a fan of Cesaro. He's been working with Aleister Black. I'm hoping that they make the division lines stronger and that both of these guys end up on the Raw side of things. And maybe we see this feud keep going. Maybe not, but to keep this brief and echo your sentiments, Black has to win. Other than that, he's a fool. So he must win.
Well, there's no way Aleister Black's going to end up on Raw because Zelina Vega's on SmackDown.
Oh, unless Zelina Vega goes with him.
Well, no.
But that means Andrade has to go, and that means Charlotte also has to go.
That's fine. I'm cool with all of that. As long as, they way down the SmackDown side for the women, because losing Charlotte is a big one, but Andrade and Zelina were initially drafted over to Raw, weren't they?
Well, yeah, but then Charlotte played the card or whatever and wanted to.
Charlotte should be on Raw anyway. It's the A show.
No, I mean, once Sasha Banks comes back, you're not going to really need Charlotte as much, right?
Yeah, and also that means that Charlotte and Becky will be on the same brand.
Well, that's fine. Listen, they survived 3 years without separating Owens and Zayn, even though they should have had every turn. Some people are just destined to constantly be attached.
Hell, they even did the match that said that they would never have another match. And 2 weeks later, they did the match again. That is still one of the stupidest things. Like, I can't imagine that somebody purposely planned that. Or if they did, they're a complete idiot. That whole idea of the last Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn match, except for 2 weeks from now. That was so stupid. God.
Well, I just get the sense that they did that match and then they totally forgot that they drafted them to the same show.
Just plan things out. Doesn't take that much difficult.
It's more difficult to say it.
More difficult to say it, apparently. I'm reading something at the same time or whatever. Apparently Twitter is back. Yay. Twitter just came back up. Yeah, I'm going with Mr. Black.
Yep, same.
Mr. Black. Yes.
I'm going with Steve Grabowski. Nobody even gets that joke. Fucking love that joke. Last man standing match, Braun Strowman against Bobby Lashley. Normally, this would seem a little like, they're just doing the same kind of things. But they did that whole stage spot, and that brought a lot more oomph to this.
Yeah, it's amazing that they did that huge spot, and Bobby Lashley was totally fine a week later and squashing Rey Mysterio. I really enjoyed that spot, and I now absolutely hate it because it had no consequence. It didn't
Strowman's
matter.
out.
No, he's not. He's back at last man standing match. And spoiler for my prediction, he's going to beat Bobby Lashley, so it's not going to matter anyway. Clearly ruptured spleens heal in about a week and a half.
I don't know about you, but last time I ruptured my spleen.
Well,
I could be rupturing my spleen every day for all I know. It clearly doesn't have too much of an effect.
Well, are you a monster or are you almighty? These men are clearly superhuman.
I just wish segments like that would have some sort of consequence. If this match was happening at SummerSlam, then I'd be perfectly fine with it because, okay, they've been taken out of TV for a few weeks. That means everyone comes back better when they had been off for a little while. So have Bobby come back a bit earlier to sell the idea that he's like more almighty than the monster, having beat a few people, and then Strowman comes back and they have this match at SummerSlam. But no, if it's just going to be for a couple of weeks later, then you just did that spot where, they go through the stage, everyone talks all solemn, everyone in their interview says, we're pulling for you guys, we really want you guys to come back better and stronger than ever, like put the camera on it for 20 minutes and don't move it at all. And then it's just absolute bullshit because they're not hurt at all because no one ever gets hurt in wrestling.
Tell that to Kofi.
Unless they actually get hurt in wrestling. That's what I mean. No one gets hurt in wrestling until they actually get hurt in wrestling.
Well, I think the best thing that came out of that is in a last man standing match, that would usually be the plot device for, oh no, they went through the stage and now, it's a draw, but they won't do that. And I think it'll be a good match. I totally see Lashley trying to do something with an ambulance that will inevitably get flipped over onto him as the referee counts to 10 instead of getting help.
I'm really curious how they end this match. And of course, that's the big selling point. Because last man standing matches, they're pretty much just like a little bit lumbering. Somebody does something, they choke slam somebody through a table, or they hit them with a chair and they stand and wait for 9 seconds and whatever. Like, that's problematic. But whenever they do like the big spot at the end, that's the big takeaway. And I'm really hoping that they have like an actual game plan to be like, man, this is going to be that they do this. And that's going to, really mess things up. Or they're going to do this super crazy spot and highlight reel type moment. You know what I mean?
I used to love these matches. These used to be my favorite gimmick matches. And they're used so poorly. I think this is one of those matches that, with the absence of blood and like extreme, oh wow, these guys are trying to kill each other to keep them down, it's turned into a lot of Looney Tunes stuff. My mind always goes back to, even though it's been 10 years, the John Cena duct taping Batista's legs.
See, I love that.
I think that's so stupid. Like, if something like that were to end this match where Lashley tapes Strowman's legs together, I'd be mad unless the idea was for Strowman to break it because he's a monster and he just freed himself and kills Lashley. I see Strowman flipping a vehicle onto Lashley, and that's how he wins.
Well, with these two, I wrote this down in the predictions thing. This is a lot better than the predictions for Evolve, where it was buh and Babatunde is huge. This one,
Braun Strowman is huge. Bobby Lashley is also
it's also huge at the end. I wrote down, this is kind of like if you want to do Godzilla King of the Monsters, and it's like, all right, these big behemoths attacking each other. So you can't do something like the duct tape thing. I loved the duct tape thing because it was something different, and it was John Cena being the smaller guy and doing something that was like innovative instead. But if Strowman were to do that, I'd be like, when the hell did he get smart? You know what I mean? Like, because
he's Braun Strowman this time.
His character is not like the charismatic opportunist, the game kind of thing. Like, it's, I am strongman, I beat you, and it's fun as hell. Like, I want Strowman to pick up, like, I love when Braun Strowman tossed Kalisto into a garbage can, because it was just like, you know, take it out the trash, fuck you. And it's just like, yeah, go ahead and do that. Like, he can't really do that as much with Lashley, since Lashley is pretty huge too, but it's like, if you want to have these two, I don't know, like, do something backstage where they destroy the whole gorilla position, yeah, do that. Like, you know, that's what I'm looking forward to. Like, this could be real fun, especially on a card like Extreme Rules. Like, this is the only one that I think could really be an Extreme Rules match. Yeah, Strowman wins.
Yeah, I think the match will be a lot of fun, just because there's a lot of room for these guys to do cool stuff to each other, and I think they're willing to do that kind of more high octane, aggressive spots that you probably won't see in the other two matches due to the age of certain competitors and the fact that there's two women in the other Extreme Rules match. So these guys will be smashing each other through the staging. They'll be going through plenty of tables, announce tables, through the barricade, all that other stuff. I imagine that I see it ending in one or two ways. Either Braun Strowman wins, or Lashley spears him off the stage and they get a draw.
No, damn it, no. Not the latter. I do not want to see another draw.
It's not a ladder match.
I hate you.
Why don't we have a ladder match?
Because it's not TLC. It's Extreme.
Or Money in the Bank.
Yeah.
Ugh. It should have been like, I don't know, Ricochet and Styles should have been a ladder match or something.
Well, that'd be a great ladder match.
But yeah, I to get off the fence, I'll just say Strowman wins because he's the more likely of the two.
Also, Ricochet and Styles could have totally been an Ultimate Extreme Rules match. I could see them doing that.
Ultimate Extreme Rules. What was the thing I was just about to say? Oh my god, I'm losing my train of thought here.
Well,
if you know what it is,
something or
well, I was just gonna say, if you know what my train of thought was, drop a comment below and subscribe while you're over there, and ring that bell for notifications. You should do that. We haven't done any plugs.
I'm hoping that your train of thought was you're gonna start paying us.
If I had the money for that, I totally would. But if you want to make sure that I have the money for that, you can hit up that Patreon, because there is a tier for that, and that's as far as transparency goes, that explains that whole kind of situation. So patreon.com/smarkoutmoment, or the TeePublic and Redbubble shops are other ways that you can toss some spare change our way, with t-shirts and stickers and wall art, apparently leggings, different things like that. So if you want leggings that say Big East package on it, you can figure out a way to do that. Yeah, other plugs coming along down the pipeline. There was something about the idea of Bobby Lashley. That's what it was. This is gonna kind of spoil a little bit of what the future is. I don't know, whatever. I'm assuming that Seth Rollins retains the championship here, and there's a possibility that maybe Bobby Lashley beats Braun Strowman, so that way he looks strong and he challenges Seth Rollins. I don't think it's gonna happen, but there's at least like a 15% chance, 15.38% or something.
Yeah, that doesn't scream SummerSlam to me, and I'm one of those sheep that truly believes SummerSlam should have something major for at least the top championships, and that doesn't scream a SummerSlam match. But, it could happen.
Anything can change on Monday Night Raw. That's another thing we were talking about. We talked about Ricochet and Styles. Let's just go with that one. United States Championship match. Ricochet is defending against AJ Styles. Ricochet had lost to Styles. Styles almost won the championship. There ended up being a whole situation with the foot under the rope, and the referee actually came out and said, like, no, that's not how we do things here, except for when we want to do things here, like that. And Styles turns heel. He is part of the club again, and Ricochet is essentially fighting a 3-man fight. But I'm thinking that Ricochet retains the title.
I think you have to cement AJ Styles' turn and reformation of the club by giving him the United States Championship. It kind of makes Ricochet a transitional champion, but if you really want to go full board AJ Styles thing, then you should give him the United States title on this side of things. Unless your plans are to have Ricochet somehow sneak a win over Styles, and then have Styles go up for the Universal Championship instead. But again, I wouldn't like that because, so you just lost the match for the second tier belt and now you're going for the major championship.
He could technically not win the title here and still not lose. This could be their DQ.
Alright, so they have Ricochet get DQ'd in this thing because that's a really babyface thing to do as well.
No, not Ricochet. Well, actually, Ricochet could get DQ'd. It's happened before. Because
that's the only way if AJ Styles winning and not winning the title. Unless
but there's winning. Well, there's 3 different types of winning. There's you win the championship, you win the match by technicality, but you don't win the championship, and you didn't win the match, but you clearly won the segment because you're the one standing tall at the end. You know what I mean? So they could do something very easily here where Styles gets disqualified because of Gallows and Anderson, and the 3 of them beat down Ricochet, and then it's just like, oh, he asserted his dominance, which would be stupid. I don't want them to do that, but, that could be a way to do that. And then it could be like Ricochet's looking for a tag team to help him along the way, and Rollins and Reigns tag up with him or something, you know what I mean? Like, they could do something like that on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it simple, stupid, and go Styles needs the win. I feel like personally he's above the U.S. title, but he needs to win it and cement that the club is back and the club is a force to be reckoned with. However, I also heard rumors, which again everything could change, but they put the club together so Styles could go up against Kofi because wild card rule, but maybe that won't even be a thing because supposedly Bischoff and Heyman want separate rosters. So Styles wins here. Ricochet will be fine. He can lose.
Oh man, I didn't even think about the idea of the New Day. That'd be a lot of fun, especially if the tag titles are in the mix. Gallows and Anderson against Woods and Big E. I'd be totally down for that. Or shit, if you want to make that extra different and whatever, do the thing that we were talking about before, where the New Day is they're a unit. They always do this whole idea of well, we're all kind of together. We're all champions together. The club against the New Day with the title on the line. It's kind of a little bit like the winner take all match that's going on here, but it still would be something fun. I'd be down for that.
No, those matches are so stupid. It's like the idea of Woods could get pinned by. What happens if Luke Gallows pins Kofi King? Not King's Big E. Does he become the WWE champion?
No,
Styles does because they're puppets for Styles.
They're hive mind. It's a hive mind idea.
Yeah, it's stupid. You shouldn't. A champion should only lose it. I know it's obviously in triple threat matches. You know what you're getting into, but in most circumstances, the champion should lose the title by losing the match. Otherwise, it doesn't really mean anything.
Well, Kofi shouldn't lose the title though.
No, he shouldn't lose the title now. He's got to lose it eventually. I enjoy Kofi Kingston being the champion, but I want, when he does lose it, for him to have lost it, because otherwise the guy that wins the title doesn't get over from defeating Kofi Kingston.
Oh, Brock Lesnar will do that though.
I know, will do. But but at least he gets a bit of a rub from how well Kingston has been booked as champion. Let's say in a huge wild scenario that it's not Brock Lesnar that defeats Kofi Kingston, then surely you want that guy to actually have the benefit of beating Kofi Kingston for the title rather than pinning Xavier Woods or something to win it.
Yeah, but that's why I'm like, to me, if you're not doing the title change, then that's not a factor as much.
Oh yeah, if you're not doing the title change, but then again, in which case, why just do that match? Why not just do? In my mindset, it's just like adding that six man aspect to it just makes it more ridiculous, as opposed to like if they were all champions, that'd be one thing. Like if Carl Anderson was to pin Big E and would to win the SmackDown Tag Team Championships that way, or if all the titles were on the line, then I might be a bit more agreeable to that side of things. But if it's just the WWE Championship on the line, it should just be 1-on-1.
Realistically, I mean they're doing the winner take all match here, so they wouldn't do that, and it would just be Styles versus Kingston, and the other two people on both sides are just ringside, like
on the pre-show. I haven't done a match already.
That might be the case if that was the way that they do that, or it could just be Styles wins the United States Championship and he has nothing to do with the New Day. Like, I mean,
yeah, that's kind of where happened. Yeah,
but I think that if Ricochet loses, he doesn't necessarily look weak. I hate this idea that when like people flip out and they're like, "Oh, he's buried because he lost." It's like he didn't get buried, you know. But I do think that they should keep that belt on Ricochet a little longer. And I think that if you give it to Styles, you have to do that with a game plan in mind of where you're going for WrestleMania. He needs to keep it from all that time, and you need to have like a real good, solid, this is the person who beats him at WrestleMania type thing. I don't want it to be like, oh, we got to give the title to Styles now and we'll figure it out. And then by the time, what's the next event after SummerSlam? Clash of Champions, right? Yeah. By the time Clash of Champions comes around and you're like, every title's defended, and I don't know, he fights Braun Strowman, and then you change the title, and it's like, all right, well, that's what we did that for. Sorry, Ricochet. You know what I mean?
Well, I'm just curious about the fact of what you think the big plan for Ricochet is as champion.
I don't know if they really necessarily have a big plan, but they should have, like, whoever comes out of this, they need to make sure that they have a plan for everybody.
Yeah, I think, I just got the sense of AJ Styles is clearly a priority with the club reforming and the fact that they've signed new contracts. So if AJ Styles is the priority, he should be the champion. Whereas Ricochet, he comes out of this and he fights, Elias at SummerSlam? Or
with Ricochet, I think it's easier if he has a title that you can get around with booking him in another feud. But with Styles, he can have a feud that doesn't have a title. That kind of thing.
I think when you factor this in, you also have to factor in whether it's Clash of the Champions or Survivor Series. You may be looking at AJ versus Balor with the club on the outside, which is also something that I'm sure they want to do at some point. I'm surprised they haven't done already. So I'm going to double down and say AJ has to win it here. I think you can do more with him than you can with Ricochet. Let's be fair to Ricochet. He's likely just going to be the spot guy on the main roster.
If they plan on doing something where it's something like, I don't know, Clash of Champions, they merge the titles together, they do that kind of thing, unification, then by all means, AJ Styles versus Finn Balor, club in the mix, Intercontinental and United States, that would be a great way to go. And then I'd be okay with it. Like, we're going to look back on this, I think, Extreme Rules, within a month or so with completely different eyes based off of how things change. So I'm not going to hate it if Styles wins, but I'm also not going to hate it if Ricochet wins, because I think that when push comes to shove, I like both guys. So it's kind of like, it's not like you're giving the title to, I don't know, who do I not like?
Brock Lesnar.
Yeah, like you're not just giving it to Brock Lesnar and saying, all right, well, there goes the United States Championship. You know what I mean? But I'm still going to stick with Ricochet retaining, because why not? It's not like I have money riding on this.
Yeah, sure, I'm going AJ still.
AJ.
SmackDown tag team title match is a triple threat match. Daniel Bryan and Rowan are up against the New Day, at least Xavier Woods and Big E, and Heavy Machinery. And this one's tough. I could definitely see the New Day winning here, and I could definitely see Bryan and Rowan retaining. Not seeing a future for Heavy Machinery winning these tag titles tonight. Well, especially not tonight because it's not Extreme Rules, but.
I want to say there's a reason that they added them to this match, but I don't think there is. I think they just chickened out in having another AJ Styles Rowan New Day match. It's got to be Bryan, unless, and we keep saying this, and I'm sorry, but unless future plans dictate Bryan in a bigger role, it's got to be Bryan and Rowan retaining the titles.
I'm going with Heavy Machinery. Totally legitimately. It's mainly just due to the fact that I just absolutely love the team, and I think they've got so much more. I mean, the New Day have a great deal of charisma, and Daniel Bryan is very charismatic, but these guys have this energy about them. I kind of, when they started out on WWE, I thought, okay, these guys are just going to be the comedy goofballs, and they're still kind of comedy goofballs, but they're actually really good in the ring as a tag team. I don't see them ever kind of working. Maybe Otis eventually could work as a singles guy, but I don't see that being too much of a factor. But they're clearly a package deal right now, and I think they could have a lot of fun as the tag team champions. So I would actually prefer them. I'd like to see where they would go ahead with them as the tag team champions over the New Day, who we've seen as tag team champions constantly, and Daniel Bryan and Rowan, who obviously Daniel Bryan's amazing and Rowan doesn't get as much credit as he deserves, but they haven't really done anything as the champions to set my world on fire.
My worry about putting the belts on Heavy Machinery is they put the belts on them and then they don't have a match at SummerSlam. Because then it's like, well, they're not priority, so let's just not have it.
I mean, this is Eric Bischoff, so clearly he could bring in the Nasty Boys to feud with Heavy Machinery.
I kind of go in the idea of, if you know that the company doesn't give a fuck about tag team wrestling anyway, then just give me what I want.
Okay, Batista.
Yeah, so it's just a case of like...
Took me a second.
Like, if I know that eventually, it's almost certain that if there's going to be 2 tag team title matches at SummerSlam, they're both probably going to be fatal 4-way tag team matches, and one of them's going to be on the kickoff show. So if I just take that mindset going into it, who gives a fuck what happens? I just give you the team that I want to be the champions, and that's Heavy Machinery.
Who else is on SmackDown outside of these 3?
Well, I mean, the wild card rule throws everything off.
No wild card rule. Who's on SmackDown?
They haven't really said where AOP is landing, because they've
shown up more on SmackDown.
Yeah, they were technically supposed to be on Monday Night Raw, but they have shown up more on SmackDown, so it's kind of like, I don't think that they have any idea where they're going to go when it comes to that.
So it's them, the B team.
The B team, are they official? Yeah, they are official. The Clones, as if that they matter. The Hardy Boys, but Jeff Hardy's still injured.
And then if they end up putting Chad Gable and Apollo Crews together.
And if Rusev and Nakamura are still a thing, but that should not be a thing. And I think that that's it.
Mm.
So they could always like form some other tag teams, but that I don't think that there's even anybody on SmackDown that really makes sense. Like, who's Buddy Murphy going to tag team with? You know,
Wesley Blake,
Mustafa Ali.
That too.
Be an interesting one.
I think that that's it for those tag teams, though, because
yeah.
Raw has
pretty much all of them.
Raw has the Revival, the Usos, Hawkins and Ryder,
the Good Brothers,
the Ascension, as if they matter anymore, Lucha House Party. We don't have Breezango anymore. We don't have
Slater
Sanity
and Rhino
anymore. Yeah, Slater and Rhino. That's not a thing anymore. Who cares? It never should have been a thing to begin with, let alone last as long as it did. I don't know. Could always put Mojo Rawley on a tag team. It's not like it's gonna matter.
It's just because again, it's just a case of there's not a real focus on the tag team division, so it doesn't really matter. It's gone to the point where it really doesn't pay any real benefits to try and speculate on the tag team division, because anyone could be the champions anytime, because one week Vince McMahon wants to put a serious team in the role, like a Revival or the Usos or the New Day, and one week they just want to put a fun team in it, like B Team or Otis and Tucker or Fandango. Just give the belts to whoever. It doesn't matter. It's tag team.
They do have this new catchphrase thing going on here, or new tagline, the blue collar something or other.
Yeah,
blue collar strong or whatever.
Yeah, so if it's like, we're blue collar strong and we've got the blue belts, like that kind of thing, like that might be something to go with.
I think you're the only person that thought of that, but it does work.
I highly doubt that would be the type of thing where they'd be like, I know, this is the pitch. Blue and blue, like, especially because it's like the money thing is to just have Otis go, I'm coming, because that's just whatever the hell that they keep doing that. And it's hilarious, but it might be. I don't know. I mean, I think that there's like a priority type thing where they would say that we'd rather have Daniel Bryan on the card for SummerSlam than Otis and Tucker. But who's to say that they're not challenging for the championships,
Yeah.
I just thought of everybody, whether it's Vince, Bischoff, thinking it'll be funny if they can't wear the titles because they're so fat. And Otis keeps putting on the title and it snaps because he's fat. You get it? He's fat.
I like the idea. That's how you replace the title belts. Otis just eats one of them.
Steaks and weights and belts.
Steaks and weights and side plates.
There you go. Otis,
they're
the
rare,
demand for change.
They're rare, but when you do get them, you're really good at them.
Thank you.
If you have the urge that you really want to say that Otis should have been in the sexiest WWE Superstars tournament because of all his steaks and weights and side plates and everything else that's going on, if you want to make sure that he's coming in some other capacity, then next round we are going to have not just the finals, but we're going to have the usual breakdown of who's got the best body, who's got the best face, who's got the best personality, all that other kind of stuff. So that's coming up in a couple days, and that means that you should be voting on round 4 right now. So the men's bracket and the women's bracket are both still available. They're going to shut off either Sunday before Extreme Rules or Monday before Monday Night Raw. Depends on my schedule and everything. And it depends on if we have like ties that I need to kind of keep going. But as much as some things are very, very close right now, like to give an update, on the one that's been the closest one, Liv Morgan and Alexa Bliss, that's still only a 3-vote difference at the moment. Someone to pay attention to. Go ahead and vote while you can.
Dates, weights, side plates, and Tyler Bates.
Yeah, I mean, that could happen.
Yeah.
Speaking of Alexa Bliss, she has a 2-on-1 handicap match. It's her and Nikki Cross going up against Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship, which, if you buy into the rumor mill and take it with a grain of salt, they weren't planning on doing a 2-on-1 handicap match, and they decided to do that just because Alexa Bliss is sick with a sinus infection, which goes to show, if that's true, that sometimes when bad things happen, they happen for a good reason. Because if this was just going to be Bayley versus Alexa Bliss again, that would have been a mistake, I think.
In a Singapore pole in a Singapore cane on a pole match like the previous time.
See that? I would have actually enjoyed seeing that, but with this time Bayley kicks her ass.
It would almost be just a glutton for punishment from kind of angle where they know that sucked.
Oh yeah.
Like Bayley has even said that in one of the, what was it, Chronicle or something, I think, or WWE the day of, where she pointed out like that match sucked and she doesn't want that to be people's memory for those kind of things. It would almost kind of behoove them a little bit to just do something like that and just be like, you know what, let's just have that be the stipulation and kind of remember that match sucked. Well, this one you're going to do better. And man, would that suck if they ended up doing just as bad, if not worse. That would just be like, all right, these two cannot touch kendo sticks ever again. You know.
But I'm trying to think with Alexa Bliss now suffering from a sinus infection. Can she actually legitimately call herself a wrestler anymore?
Yeah.
Is she someone that just
gotta run a bad luck?
Is it bad luck or is it injury proneness now at this point?
Well, sinus infection is not necessarily an injury. That's just kind of.
Well, I don't see
unless that's actually it might be a complication from something like that though. That'd be horrible if that's the case.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying I do feel bad for her in the fact that she is suffering all these injuries, but it comes to a point of she's given a lot of opportunities in title matches, and she's obviously considered a big deal because of her looks, her personality, her promo ability, all that other stuff. But at the end of the day, if she can't actually perform on a consistent basis, you can't keep putting her in prominent positions.
I'm hoping, I don't know if I say I think, but I'm hoping this is the end of this feud. At least as far as Bayley's part of it. There's 2 courses of action, maybe 3 if you want to stretch it in some ways, that I could see this going. Either Bayley loses the championship, Bliss and Nikki just kind of keep this going and they drag it the hell out. Because then at that point, we know that it's going to be Bliss versus Nikki in the future, and it's just like, oh my god, can we just do it instead of having you carry this on until Survivor Series or something like that? I'm hoping that that's not the case. There's a possibility that Bliss wins the championship, and she just drops Nikki Cross, and it's like, I don't need you anymore, I already won the title. And then they do a triple threat match at SummerSlam. And that, I think, is a very high likelihood of happening. But now they've introduced this other element where Nikki Cross has said, I think 3 times now, that Bayley needs to have a friend. And that's like, all right, Sasha Banks comes back. And at that point, do Sasha and Bayley at SummerSlam. Just do it. How do you guys feel?
I think it's got to be Sasha and Bayley. Just because if you have Sasha and she's ready to go, you need that match. That match will be a great women's match for SummerSlam. A lot of people, at this point, rightfully so, have been complaining about the state of the women's division following WrestleMania. And to be frank, I have no interest in Alexa Bliss got another one, because at this point it's like, you have access to prior footage. You know this woman should not be trusted. Do not make Nikki Cross look that stupid.
Now, that's if you're, to being frank. What if you were Rob?
Well, also, if I was Frank, I'd have a lot more money. So, being Rob, I'm going to say Alexa Bliss wins the title because Sasha Banks costs Bayley the match. Because they won't do it for the title, but they'll do Sasha and Bayley in a grudge match at SummerSlam, which would finally pay off the SummerSlam match I think we were supposed to get last year between them. Did they feud for like a year, but didn't really touch, but feuded?
God, I hope that they don't do that again.
I kind of think with this one, there's a good chance that Sasha Banks comes in, helps Bayley retain, and then gets the idea of raises her hand at the end of it and then lays her out. Mm-hmm. And then that's how you build up the feud for SummerSlam for the title. I also think that there's maybe not an equal possibility, but just a very high likelihood that it's also Nikki Cross and Alexa Bliss win, with Nikki pinning Bayley and her thinking that they're co-champions, because she's been saying all along that she wants to be co-champions with Alexa Bliss. And Alexa Bliss saying, well, actually, I'm the champion. I'm the one. You signed the contract, but the contract was for me to be the champion. So I'm going to hold the championship. You can pretend that we're co-champions. Alexa Bliss defends it against Bayley at SummerSlam. And then you start building towards the inevitable Alexa Bliss versus Nikki Cross match happening somewhere in the future, which I'm not as down on, because I think as long as it ends with Nikki Cross winning the championship, then I'm kind of just happy, because I like Nikki Cross. Even though it means that you have to deal with a few more months of Alexa Bliss being champion, but sometimes you have to break a few eggs to make an omelette. Break an omelette, get a few eggs. That's been amazing. But
It's a hell of a magic trick.
Yeah, I know, fantastic. I'll add that to my routine. But yeah, I just think it's either way. This is going to directly lead into the match, the women's title match at SummerSlam. I do think the one with Bayley and Sasha Banks has a lot more of an appeal to it, but it very much depends on where Sasha Banks' mindset is at the moment.
See, I really, under no circumstances do I want to see Alexa Bliss versus Bayley at SummerSlam. I don't even really want to see a triple threat, but I really don't want to see another singles match between those two, because then we're getting into that same territory of like, my God, you did it at Stomping Grounds, and you're doing it at Extreme Rules, and the second biggest pay-per-view of the year, or so to speak, is just the third match between these two. I don't want to see those. I hate it when SummerSlam is filled with rematches and stuff, because it doesn't do anything for me. So, well, as much as I like Alexa Bliss, I don't want her to win the championship here.
With her being injury prone, I think you're at the point where even if this is just a sinus thing, it's still her being away from the ring. I think you are at the point where you have to ask, should she be doing this on a full-time basis? But they like to have her in storylines, and since she's been working with Heyman, I'm sure they'll find a way to say, Alexa Bliss is, going to be in some type of GM position, or maybe even just an every week moment of bliss position on Raw.
I'm hoping. I mean, let's put it this way: I don't really like this Nikki Cross feud anymore. I really liked it at the start when they started playing into the idea that Alexa wasn't maybe bad, and that it was like, well, you used to pick on me in NXT. I liked that a lot, but they cut all nuance. Then it just became Alexa's 100% a heel. She's definitely screwing over Nikki Cross. Let's just get to the end point. And then we're just doing the Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross / Nia Jax thing, where it's just, okay, well then can we just have the match? Because I'm not like, Alexa, you got away with it again this time, that kind of thing. It's like, can we just do this and just move on? Like,
how much longer is Nia out for?
At least months.
Hopefully forever.
2 knee problems, I think. Both of the knees.
Yeah, both her knees were destroyed, essentially, so had to get them rebuilt.
She's 2020, I'm assuming. But, like, I don't want this Nikki Cross thing to drag out. And as much as I might be in the minority here, I don't think that Sasha and Bayley is something that I'm going to completely blow my mind, go nuts over. I much, much prefer that. And then just have Alexa and Nikki have their feud on Raw. That kind of sucks for Nikki, but I don't think Nikki would be a strong champion right now anyway.
Even though I would agree with you a little bit that Sasha and Bayley is a well they went to too often last year, they have to play a little bit into this idea that, Sasha's bitter and upset, and they do have her under contract, and everything we've been hearing keeps saying, well, she'll be back in the summer, and we're dead in the middle of summer at this point. So I'm assuming she's got to be back, and more than that, I just don't want to see Alexa Bliss in the title picture, and I don't want to see Nikki Cross with Alexa Bliss anymore.
Well, push comes to shove. Who are you guys voting? Well, not voting, but who you guys think is going to win? I'm going with Bayley.
Bayley.
Alexa and Nikki.
We have 3 more matches that are on here. Before we break those down, really quick plug. FanboysAnonymous.com is where you're going to find the movie reviews and different geek culture topics that I've got on my schedule. So go to FanboysAnonymous.com, subscribe to that YouTube channel, follow the Facebook and Twitter, and do all that kind of stuff. And if you are following Facebook and Twitter accounts, you should do the same for Smark Out Moment, because that's what you're listening to. Show us support. All of them are at Smark Out Moment. And let's go on to the WWE Championship match. Kofi Kingston is defending against Samoa Joe. Apparently, Kofi Kingston has a bit of an injury, so that sucks. But I'm still really looking forward to this match. I still think that this is one of the top 2 or 3 matches that we could get throughout the night. Very refreshing to see a different feud. Big fan of both of the guys. So I've got nothing negative to say about it.
I have plenty negative to say about it.
Yeah.
Really?
Not in terms of the actual
really?
match. Not in terms of the actual match itself. The actual match itself, I'm very much looking forward to, and I think Samoa Joe should be in the main event picture. The issue is the fact that Samoa Joe hasn't won a match since WrestleMania. A singles match, should I say, since WrestleMania.
He beat Ray.
No, he didn't. He lost to Ray, and then Ray gave him the title back.
Oh, that's right.
Just handed it to him.
So, and then he lost to Ricochet, and then he hasn't done anything else of real significance. The only thing he's done is he attacked Kofi Kingston on stage, and at which point I'm thinking, well, you know that group of people that are just chasing R-Truth or whoever the 24/7 champion is at any point in time, why are they just attacking Kofi Kingston backstage all the time and getting title matches? Because Dolph Ziggler did it, he got a title match. Samoa Joe did it, he got a title match. Is this what we do now? You just attack the champion and then you're immediately in the feud with them?
Well, you can't have your rematch anymore, so you got to do something.
Yeah, but it's just so stupid. I want this match to happen. I'm looking forward to the actual match itself, so I don't want to shit all over it. But I want some. Is it too much to ask for a semblance of logic, or a semblance of just even a reasoning why they're at this match, as opposed to, well, Kofi Kingston got attacked on the ramp. It's like, okay, why isn't everyone doing that then? Well, because they're, the 24/7 title. I mean, that title's got so much prestige surrounding it. I mean, look at how many people have held it in the last couple of months, or whatever. It's just very illogical, and I don't like that side of things.
I don't like the rumors that Kofi's injured, because it's got me thinking, all right, Joe's gonna go for a quick coquina clutch. Kofi does the Bret Hart thing where he puts the foot on the ropes and escapes real quick. Brock Lesnar music. Brock Lesnar gets the title. I'm certain that Brock Lesnar is getting the title from Kofi and not Seth, and I feel like it'll be here. They already put the lingering tease in the air that it's going to happen at Extreme Rules, or maybe not, because Paul Heyman can lie, which, sure, but I think it happens here. And unfortunately, WWE over the last 2 years has doused any hopes and ambitions I had for Samoa Joe being a world champion.
Well, this is something that's really kind of throwing me for a loop. I had been very much in the camp of Brock Lesnar beats Kofi Kingston. I don't want it to happen, but I think that that's going to happen. Although, they gave Paul Heyman Monday Night Raw. Not the whole Eric Bischoff thing. And there must be a reason why. Because again, reports might not be true, but if you buy into the dirt sheets, Fox would have rather had Paul Heyman. So why not give Paul Heyman SmackDown, something that, if that's true, that Fox would rather have, and that would be the case of he's got the B show, and that's the one that's we're going to try to build more interest with Fox going forward, because that could be the underdog, and Paul Heyman is more of the person that the fans could get behind, and that he would have access to Brock Lesnar as champion. Whereas if Brock Lesnar beats Kofi Kingston and all that, and we don't have that kind of transparency between those two, then Eric Bischoff will be controlling that.
I think
that's very I don't know. That's something to weigh on, you know?
I think too many people, again, it's just a case of we don't actually know how much influence Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff are going to have on the two shows. They're probably going to have more influence than other writers or producers, but at the end of the day, it still falls down to what Vince McMahon wants. So I don't really buy that side of things, but I do, as time is wearing on, I'm starting to believe that it is Seth who's going to be the one who loses to Brock. But for an entirely different reason, which I'll probably get into more when I talk about the other matches going forward as well. But I still see Kofi retaining here, even though it gets to the point of how many title shots can Joe get at the main title and keep losing before you just at the point where he's such a good heel, but it would have to be like an underdog story for him to win because he's lost so many times. So you'd kind of have to turn him babyface to win the title, and it would be almost like I guess if you want to keep him heel and do that story, you could do it like a Mark Henry type thing, where Henry was the heel and he had been in the company for 12 years or whatever and never won the title. And then eventually does win it. And it's seen as like a feel-good moment, but he's still a badass who you don't want to deal with.
How crazy would that be if we actually get that submission match between Lesnar and Joe at WrestleMania that they had pitched before?
That would be... Wait, was that... That wasn't pitched by Bischoff, was it?
You'd imagine Heyman would pitch something like that because he obviously...
No, I think Tony's specifically referring to...
Table for Three.
Table for Three episode. With Bischoff. Was he the one that pitched that?
It was Bischoff, Cornette, and somebody,
and
right?
Michael Hayes.
And I don't think that it was Cornette. I think it was Bischoff.
It would really shock me if that was Bischoff's idea. It just doesn't seem like the type of match that he would do.
Now I'm curious.
Yeah, I'm completely going into the network.
Because it sounds to me like saying that out of the three of them, that you'd probably associate more with Cornette. But it could have been Bischoff. But I don't see that happening because they're both heels. And I don't think they'll turn Joe babyface in that way. And you can't turn Brock babyface because everyone hates him because he's never around.
Yeah, they had an opportunity to briefly, and they shit all over it.
Coming across, I think that it was Cornette.
Yeah,
actually.
Yeah, that's right. Because I imagine that whatever Bischoff said, it involved Roman Reigns.
Let's see.
Probably said Roman Reigns versus Brock Lesnar, don't he?
Is that what Bischoff said?
It wouldn't surprise me.
No, Bischoff, at that time, suggested Reigns versus Styles.
Oh, okay.
According to this report.
So,
yeah, Cornette had said the submission match. Well, that kind of ruins that a little bit, but then, hey, that's part of the discussion.
Hey, if Jim Cornette took over Raw or SmackDown, then we would be having this discussion.
We do know that Paul Heyman really likes Samoa Joe, though. Like, that's on the record. He's said that before. So there could be more of a significant push for Samoa Joe going forward if that's the case.
But he would be on the SmackDown side if he was WWE champion.
Wild card rule throws things off.
Yeah, I guess so, but it's just a case of that's also part of the reason why. Because if Robbie is right in his assumption that they want to separate the roster, then they wouldn't have a Raw guy win the SmackDown Championship unless they're obviously going to draft him over to SmackDown to do it as well. So I just think that it makes more sense, even with the injury, for Kofi to win, unless the injury is more serious than we thought, in which case you just might have to give the title to Samoa Joe by default. But if Kofi is able to wrestle well, then keep him as the champion, have him go to SummerSlam, because with the strength of the run that he's had, I think his match could be a high caliber one and be a pretty big draw, just due to the length and the success of his title run so far.
Who beats him if Randy's hurt?
Well, I don't want to get into it too far, but I think it's Roman.
I think no matter what, Samoa Joe doesn't win this match. I think that Kofi retains or loses to Lesnar.
I think Kofi...
And then going forward, I mean, that's a different story.
Well, I think Kofi retains and there's no cash-in.
No, I don't think that there's going to be a cash-in either.
I'm going with Kofi retaining and Brock Lesnar.
The reason I don't think there's going to be a cash-in here is because I think that they would end up paying Lesnar to do Extreme Rules and then pay him to do SummerSlam. And I can see more of a scenario where he pops up at SummerSlam and wins the title.
Oh, no, don't get me wrong. There's going to be a cash-in tonight. It's just not going to be on Kingston.
We'll
get at least in my opinion.
And to piggyback on that, we don't know the extent of how many dates he signed on for, but we know they got him for at least another 2 years, so they could roll over dates. Just have him do more this year and not as much next year.
After he wins the title.
Yeah.
Well, and also, I think people just forget the fact that they've got billions of dollars coming their way with these two television deals, so they can afford to whatever Lesnar is charging them for these appearances pretty comfortably.
And you have the Saudi Arabian money. You can afford Brock Lesnar.
They really, I mean, I'm gonna beat this drum. They really better not give that title to Lesnar and have him fuck off and say, all right, he'll pop up at the Saudi show and Survivor Series and Royal Rumble and WrestleMania. I do not want that. Ugh. But we're kind of tying this into other title situations, and one of them being the Universal Championship match. Now, listen to the way that this is described. The winners take all mixed tag team Extreme Rules match with the Universal Champion Seth Rollins and Raw Women's Champion Becky Lynch versus Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans.
You're missing the last chance aspect of that as well.
Oh god, did they add that?
Well, yeah, because
that was the first stipulation they added.
It's Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans' last chance, at these times.
Oh god, that's right. Jesus, this thing's gonna be longer than the card just to read it off. Undertaker's entrance can happen throughout this whole time. I really applaud the fact that they're doing this in some ways. I know, like, on paper, some of this looks bothersome because even I can complain about it. Like, we have no reason to have seen Lacey Evans versus Becky Lynch again because they had 2 other matches and Lacey Evans lost them. So she never should have had the match at Stomping Grounds, let alone have another one here because she lost those 2. There wasn't anything that can piggyback off of that. Same thing with Baron Corbin to an extent where we've had him against Seth Rollins. You're just kind of clearly stretching things out, and I don't condone stretching things out for the sake of being lazy. However, they could have very easily done Seth Rollins versus Baron Corbin in a street fight and Becky Lynch versus Lacey Evans in a no DQ match and been like, oh, that's all we're doing. You know, that's the only effort that we want to put into this is copy and paste. At least they thought of the idea of doing the mixed tag team match. And then I had crapped on it by saying, well, why is this not Extreme Rules? It makes no sense. And they made an Extreme Rules match, which is like, all right, well, that's problematic in some ways because now there doesn't need to be tags. So that's going to be a little bit confusing and stuff. But I will at least pat them on the back for saying, look, you're trying something. And if you're trying, you're going to fail sometimes. But I would rather you try and fail than to just be flat out 100% lazy and fail. You know what I mean?
No, I don't actually. This is an epitome of a lazy stipulation match.
Would you rather have had them do 2 separate singles matches that are street fights, though?
No, I'd rather they come up with 2 different challenges.
Well, I mean, that's a better case scenario. But I'm saying,
so
given the fact that they're lazy all the time and that they do that kind of stuff, I will look on this as the more glass half full that we got this instead of the other things, even though it's not good.
I'm not going to give them a pat on the back for raising one finger when they should be raising their entire arms. They've got the muscle, they've got the talent roster, they've got all the ability to make good matches, and the fact that they delivered this shit show. I'm not going to give it any more credit than that because this is a total fucking abortion of a match. Because it's stupid. It's stupid in every situation of the word because it's a mixed tag team Extreme Rules match where the men aren't going to attack the women because men can't attack women because that's not the way things work in WWE. Had that stupid mixed tag team elimination match on Raw, which made absolutely no sense.
Really stupid.
Yeah, but it's just, I mean, what should really realistically happen here is that within the first, maybe not in the first instance, but reasonably early on in the match, Baron Corbin should give Becky Lynch the end of days. And then him and Lacey Evans then beat on Seth Rollins for a while, for the majority of the match before Becky makes a comeback. But they're not going to do that because that's a man attacking a woman. They'll have Becky put Baron Corbin in this armor, and they'll have Lacey Evans punch out Seth Rollins because, women's power and all of that side of things. Not that I see why that they do it because it gets a big pop, but, it's just a sense of it should work both ways. But it's just all this stuff along the lines of Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch. The relationship is, I've never seen an actual on-screen, like an actual real-life couple have so little on-screen chemistry. And they're making each other look like cornballs, which they shouldn't be doing because they've done so much good work of making Seth Rollins the Beast Slayer and Becky Lynch like the man, like beating the baddest woman on the planet, and now they're just a bunch of like corny lovebirds. And you add in Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans, who both don't deserve to have these matches, and they both don't draw anybody to a main event level. It's just a really, really bad, stupid match, and I can't wait for it to be over. When Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch win.
Oh, they have to win, for sure.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If they switch these titles and they put them on Baron Corbin and Lacey Evans at this point, and they do it in this match, they deserve all the backlash.
And that's why I kind of want. This is why I want Brock Lesnar to cash in. Not that I want him to cash in, but I prefer him to cash in on this one because I would love to see, and Heyman would back this because Heyman's done this like plenty of times in ECW when he was in charge of it. You have him beat up Seth Rollins, like pin Seth Rollins, win the title, and then F5 Becky Lynch. And then you just got, oh my god, the heat just escalates to an absolutely insane degree. And then that makes the match between Seth Rollins and Brock Lesnar that you're going to get at SummerSlam. Like, adds an even more deeper level of personal hatred than there was previous to it. Makes the whole Seth Rollins-Becky Lynch relationship thing on TV worthwhile.
And just to spoil my reaction to that, I'd be like, wow, that's really great. I don't want to see that match. Well, no. And then I'd immediately be like, oh crap, we're going to get that match. I'm already pissed about SummerSlam. Like, the negative like that completely negates all the other stuff for me.
Callum said so many things right. Mainly the fact that this match is stupid because they're gonna put over so much that, oh, Becky Lynch she's not backing down to Corbin, but Corbin can't touch her, and that's annoying. And yes, we know why that isn't a thing, but it's also in the same vein of people going crazy for Kofi Kingston putting up the middle finger. It's like, we've seen this so much. We know it can be a thing. You know, Callum and I, cheap plug, doing 2001 Wrestling Odyssey, have seen a lot of violence towards women. Like, it happens. And a lot of times it happens as a counter response to the woman getting too, aggressive. And with Becky Lynch thinking, I'm the man, I can take it. Yes, she should take an end of days. And Callum has convinced me so much that I'm going to go with, I want to see Brock Lesnar cash in on Seth Rollins and F5 Becky Lynch, because I think that would fucking be awesome. Because another issue that I've had with Rollins this month is not only is it corny, but they're clearly going with, oh, Rollins is kind of taking a backseat to Becky here, because, she wears the pants in the family, and that's clearly the story they're trying to tell, on top of trying to tell the story of Seth being like, and I'm okay with that because it's 2019, and I just don't like it. I like Seth and Becky a lot, but I don't like this. I don't like anything about it, and I hope Callum's right, and Brock Lesnar F5s Becky Lynch and wins the Universal title now.
I want to at least point out that I don't. But the part of the relationship of Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch that I do like is the fact that Seth is deferential to Becky. Because it is 2019. You shouldn't, maybe not deferential, but they should be on equal footing.
They should be on equal footing, but they're trying to tell the story that...
Well, Becky Lynch is the star in the relationship.
Yeah.
Seth's not the star. And let's put it this way, if they were to have like a massive breakup in the next year or so, Becky Lynch is the one that would still be a champion, and Seth Rollins would be sent down to the mid-card for a little while to think about what he did or whatever.
Well, let's be even more honest. The reason why they're doing that is because that plays into the politics.
Obviously, yeah, but it's just a case of like, they know that at the moment they know what the hot ticket item is, and that's Becky Lynch. Seth Rollins it's not that Seth Rollins is a nobody, but it's just they're on different levels at the moment. And I think
I still just don't think that Becky is as big of a deal.
Oh, she is.
I don't get that sense that she's anywhere close to what she was heading into WrestleMania.
No, she's not at that level now. And you usually get that when the chase is over and then that person is the champion. I think people get hung up on the idea that people are so desperate to find another Steve Austin or a Rock or a John Cena that they'll just cling on to whoever it is supposed to be. And you can't say that if ratings are dropping as far as they have been dropping, that Becky Lynch is being successful. But then again, no one is being successful in this environment. It's the environment, not the people, as much. But I go with the sense that out of the two of them, Becky Lynch is still has more about her right now. Because I just don't think Seth Rollins has got really any momentum behind him. And that's mainly due to the fact that he's been feuding with Baron Corbin for most of the year so far.
Rollins reminds me of Bret Hart 1994.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's him, him or a Michaels in 96, that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's like he's definitively one of the most popular stars, and he's oddly not getting any reaction that kind of like supports that.
Yeah.
For being one of the big guys that's in the company, but at the same time, you can't fault. And I mean, like, let's be honest about the Becky Lynch thing too. Like, you put Becky Lynch against Naomi. Becky Lynch is far more popular right now, and there's no debate about that. Like, she is still the top when it comes to that. But you compare Becky Lynch going into WrestleMania to Becky Lynch now, it's not the same. And you compare Seth Rollins now compared to, say, like the very beginning of that heel turn with the Shield, it's not quite the same. Like, nothing's as good as it could or should be. And that's what makes everything feel like a little just like blah.
Yeah, compare Seth Rollins now to the Seth Rollins that came out of that Gauntlet match.
Yeah. If you could
it's like
keep
two
that
different
level,
guys.
that would be amazing.
It's almost like it's two different guys.
Yeah.
And it's a sense of like when you make the Bret Hart comparison, that's like it's a great comparison to make because Seth Rollins is great and Bret Hart was great. They're not Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
They're not John Cena. They're not Steve Austin.
What throws me off with the Becky Lynch thing is people are like, Becky Lynch is the next Stone Cold, and it's like, well,
I think it's because they never.
She's not the next Stone Cold. She's the Becky Lynch of right now, and that's not the whole like, don't be the next Stone Cold, be the Becky, not that thing. It's just a matter of like, no, she's not so above and beyond popular, crazy, breaking the mainstream, kind of a thing to the point of being like, wow, we can hinge this company on the Becky Lynch thing right now.
No, but I think people just get hung up because it's the first time that a woman has kind of taken that role.
Yeah.
So they want to push it a little bit more, and I think that's fair enough because, like I say, it's kind of groundbreaking in that regard.
It's good to have that hope.
Yeah.
And it sucks that we're heading into SummerSlam pretty soon, and I already feel like Becky could lose that title. And it's okay.
Oh, yeah, but not here.
It's never going to happen, but I'm going to throw this out there that I do think somebody has said in a writer's room, can we get away with the Seth versus Becky match? And it's at least been talked about because I think there is that desire for whatever reason. I'm not a fan personally, but there's a lot of fans today that like the intergender wrestling aspect, and Becky Lynch seems like the one that they would be willing to at least advertise it and do it as a one-off for.
Well,
Impact Wrestling, that's not the case.
Impact Wrestling just like typified that because their last main event wasn't intergender.
Oh yeah.
So
it was pretty good too.
Also, after watching that, I just get a sense of how are some companies so stupid that they haven't signed Tessa Blanchard and given her all the money?
Yeah,
they possibly can.
Yes.
She's going to be a bit disruptive behind the scenes. Who gives a fuck? Look at Shawn Michaels. Look at Hulk Hogan. Look at anyone who's ever been successful.
Warrior.
They're pretty disruptive behind the scenes. But it's like in terms of this match, I think the winners are pretty much a lock. The only thing that could add any sort of like element of excitement or jeopardy is what could happen post match with Lesnar. At least for me.
Well,
I'm going Rollins and Becky for sure, and I'm hoping that they subvert expectations and Rollins gets to win.
I didn't even think about that. Now that you said that, I also want to say Becky taps out Baron Corbin because why not?
I think it's better that than Seth Rollins curb stomps Lacey Evans.
I tell you what, I wasn't expecting that, but at the same time, I would laugh because I would not see that coming, and it would be one of those nervous laughs where I'd be like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, it's like, oh my god, there. Oh, what are those cinder blocks doing out there? Oh no.
I don't want to see
I don't want to see that.
Becky. I mean, I don't want to see Seth beat the crap out of Lacey because I don't like the intergender thing, but I don't like it in either way. Like,
no, but I think
I know that there's people that are like, oh, I don't want to see any man do anything to a woman because that's like abusive and it's a triggering kind of thing. And it's like, yeah, but there can be women that abuse men, so why can't that be triggering too? Yeah. I'm sure that that's triggering for some people, and you can't play the favorite game of being like, well, this is only a one-way street. No, that's not the case. Same when it comes to a lot of other things. But I don't like the idea of ending this of Becky makes Baron tap out because this really, I want to mention this because we didn't talk about this on like the hot tags or anything. I really didn't like Maria saying, what kind of a man taps out to a woman? Yeah, that made me feel so skeeved out.
That's very like 70s.
Yeah, I did not like that. And as much as that's the case, I also don't want to see Baron Corbin tap out to Becky Lynch because I think that Baron Corbin, if he's supposed to be somebody who is, obviously he gets heat from a lot of people that they just don't like him, but he's booked in a way that you're supposed to believe that he's at least a legitimate enough fighter to be able to be in WWE and all that. And if he is challenging for the United States Championship or something going forward, I don't want there to be that type of ammo for like a Ricochet to be like, you tapped out to Becky Lynch, you lost to a woman, and to keep doing that. You know what I mean? Because then that's just going to make me feel really like uncomfortable, and you know, I'm going to have to be like apologetic for something that I didn't even do. So I'd rather it be something like, ideally in my mind, maybe Becky hits Corbin with the stomp. No, I'm doing the opposite thing of what I'm doing here. Maybe Becky hits Lacey with the stomp and Rollins makes Corbin tap out with the disarmer.
Well, they could also do something where maybe Baron's in the disarmer and Seth piles that up with a stomp while he's in the hold.
Yeah, something like that. Something to kind of change it up. Don't just make it be, because that's also not the rules either. The rules literally have it in there, and they just completely ignored it on the Monday Night Raw match. The women face the women, the men face the men. Well, you can't have Becky make the man tap out the way that you did with Mike Kanellis without saying, well, there goes the fucking rule.
Yeah, well,
but then again, that was a stupid elimination match, and that doesn't make any sense to begin with.
But you can't do that because there's no rules in this match.
And not only that...
Again, another problem when it comes to that.
Yeah. It's just sense of like, I agree with you in the sense that there shouldn't be... I'm not a huge fan of the tag team and intergender matches, but I don't mind them to such a huge degree. But when you put yourself into a match where it's an intergender, like mixed tag team match with extreme rules, so there is no rules, then you back yourself into a corner and essentially you have to deliver on some sort of intergender action.
Maybe they could get around it a little bit by doing something like
one of them fighting on the outside, one of them fighting in the ring, that sort of thing.
No, I was going to say something like Lacey tries to do like a splash onto Seth Rollins and he moves out of the way, so she crashes through the table, where it's like, oh, he didn't actually do anything to her, but at the same time, that's kind of an interaction. Like, maybe they do crap like that, but that's more convoluted than it needs to be. And at that point, it should have just been, I mean, we're all going in the same direction here. Let's just say something that we said earlier. This shouldn't have been the match to begin with. It should have just been new champion challengers.
Yeah, exactly.
So then you shouldn't have been in this, you know, they never should have had these rematches at Stomping Grounds. At that capacity, they never should have had Stomping Grounds. Let's be honest about that. They had the Saudi Arabia show. They should have waited, and Extreme Rules should have happened a week ago. And they should have just had one pay-per-view instead of two. That's how it should have happened. But I'm going to be really annoyed if Brock Lesnar cashes in and wins the championship here, because I just do not want Brock Lesnar as my champion. So no matter what happens in this match, if that happens, that's going to be like, all right, well, didn't like Extreme Rules, that kind of a thing. So I'm hoping, as blanded as it is, that Lynch and Rollins just retain, and that's the end of it.
Either way, I hope Baron Corbin goes away and actually comes back with a little more ruggedness and acts like somebody who is close to 7 feet tall and can actually beat the crap out of people. That's a lot of my problem with Baron Corbin, is why is he a weasel when he's 7 foot tall?
since it hasn't happened yet and we can't chime in, I mean, when it comes to the post show, we're going to go, oh, where do we go from here and that kind of a thing. But just ahead of time, who do you think's the next challenger for Becky?
Is it too much to say Charlotte?
I was thinking Charlotte. That's first name that came to my head was Charlotte because it's SummerSlam, and again, like I said, you need a big match. I feel.
I think if you don't go with the Bayley Sasha thing, then Sasha could be a challenger for Becky Lynch.
I'm gonna groan so fucking hard if it's Charlotte again.
But in terms of other options, you're probably looking at
Shayna Baszler? No, right?
No, she's not dropping that title.
Natalia, maybe.
Oh,
there's very little.
There's very little, which really makes me go, well, then fuck it. Give me Charlotte. Give me a good match. I'll take Charlotte.
I hate to look at a scenario and say I'd rather them just not be on the card, but that's the way I'm looking at it. I don't want Charlotte Becky again. I'd be fine with never seeing that for another 5 years. I'm past that.
You know what? I do think I'm ready for it. I'm surprised I haven't already gotten this. Both title matches are a pairing of the Four Horsewomen, whether it's Sasha fighting Becky or Bayley and Charlotte fighting the other champion. I'm ready for that. That seems like a strong way to build to SummerSlam, and it's better than Alexa again or Lacey again. And to be quite honest, outside of those names, nobody else is that serious of a challenger.
Nobody on Raw strikes me as somebody who could be a good enough challenger unless they bring back Ronda Rousey.
Yeah,
and they could do that.
That's the only wild card. Yeah, that's the only wild card, yeah.
That could very well be the case because, I mean, if she hasn't gotten pregnant yet and if her hand is healed, then they could just be like, all right, SummerSlam, big event, Ronda Rousey versus Becky Lynch too. That kind of thing.
You even lost the draw factor, and I know we don't like them that much, of somebody like a Nikki Bella who can't wrestle. I'd never want to see Stephanie in another match, but you need a draw. I don't want to see this be a thing where, all right, well, guess what? We're just going to switch Nikki and Alexa over to Becky Lynch. I don't want that. Like, I would rather see Charlotte Flair over any of those options.
I'm going to hang my hat on the Ronda thing, even though it's going out on a limb there.
It's a fair guess. I'm going to go with Charlotte.
I'll wait and see until after Extreme Rules.
Cop out.
Boo!
Good old cop out, Callum.
Hey, I won't even be on the post show, so fuck you guys.
Yeah, it's even more of a cop out. Then you can't even do it after.
Double down and give us an answer now.
In fact, you need to tell us who's going to win at Survivor Series.
Shane McMahon.
That's a good guess.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck, I forgot about that match. I thought we were wrapping up here.
No, we're not wrapping up. We got to do the Undertaker match.
I totally forgot that this match is on the card because of how much I care about it.
It's the one match that they've shoved down your brain cells in your throat. Shoved down your brain cells.
Because I'm almost at a point where I want to Shane McMahon roll it. Just the same as Brock Lesnar roll.
Yeah, but then there's like the Undertaker thing, and we have to at least say that that's kind of cool. They got me with that. That's a complete surprise. I was not expecting the Undertaker to work an Extreme Rules event ever, let alone tag with Roman. And I think they obviously win here, and we get Drew and Undertaker at SummerSlam.
Let's count the people that are on the sidelines here. On the babyface side, you got The Miz, Kevin Owens,
Cedric Alexander.
Cedric Alexander, yeah, he's in the mix now. Gary Garbett. You can count the Usos. You can count. Is that it?
You could potentially count Seth if you wanted to, just with the Roman connection.
No, they haven't really done too much with the Shane thing.
No,
so I think that's it. So that's like 5-6 people. And on the heel side, you've got, they don't really do the B team anymore, so I don't think that we would count them. But you got the Revival, you've got Elias, Dolph Ziggler. And I think that that's it too, right?
Yeah, pretty much at the moment.
Isn't there one more?
I feel like there is at least one more, but I can't think of any other ones.
I don't remember any other person that's been doing stuff with them, like unless Cesaro has been at certain points, but I don't think he has.
Fuck it,
I don't think so.
Fuck it, Goldberg. Goldberg is a heel. He works for Shane McMahon. 2001 Wrestling Odyssey.
Gary Goldberg. Bring him in. So, is this going to be all those people all just get into the mix? The Miz is out there fighting with Elias because there's no holds barred. You've got the Revival and the Usos come back in. You've got Kevin Owens who runs in. Dolph Ziggler runs in. To total insanity, that kind of thing.
Well, let's face it, this match needs all the bells and whistles it can get.
It does. Because Shane McMahon is not a wrestler. Undertaker is not the way that he used to be.
Oh, well, Lashley will probably be incapacitated after the Last Man Standing match. At least for a couple of days. I know, but
he's the other guy. He's the other guy I couldn't think of.
Yeah, he'll probably break his clavicle and be out for a week. But in terms of this match, it's the Undertaker being on is obviously a draw, and the Undertaker will always be a draw, no matter how shitty his matches has become and how slow he is in the ring. But
how do you really feel?
But the fact it is a tag team match means that he can be, even though it's a no holds barred match, he can be on the apron, because I think Rob is right in the fact that this is being built around a hot tag to the Undertaker, and then he gets to do all his spots that he can still do, and beat up Shane and Drew McIntyre for a while. Have you guys seen the Undertaker and Roman Reigns' new tag team name?
Big Dogs.
No, they're called.
What is it?
They're called the Graveyard Dogs.
Oh, stupid.
Oh, no.
And you can buy that now on their new t-shirt.
Are you kidding me? You're kidding me.
The Undertaker and Roman Reigns authentic "We Run This Yard" t-shirt.
No.
That's not even like a pun or anything.
Hold on.
The Graveyard Dogs?
I don't believe him until I see this shirt for myself.
Well, I was on Ringside News and I just saw it come up, so it's just like...
Graveyard Dogs?
Yeah.
That's not... Leave a comment. If you have ever heard the phrase graveyard dog before, let me know.
Oh my god, it's real. The Graveyard Dogs. So by that logic...
There are dogs in the yard, but there's also... But it's a graveyard because the Undertaker... Yeah, so...
That's stupid.
So by that logic, fuck it. Undertaker and Roman Reigns defeat the Revival, and they will defend the Tag Team Championships at SummerSlam.
There's more of a connection with Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre because they have the little Mick in their names.
Yeah, I think in terms of the actual match going, like because of the no holds barred thing and the bells and whistles and all the interference that will probably take place, it could actually be a lot of fun. And until you start watching the Undertaker trying to, I don't know, lift Drew McIntyre or Shane McMahon into position and see his legs start to wobble as he's holding them up for a tombstone or something. But the Roman and Drew McIntyre aspect should be at least good. And Shane, for how much he's been overexposed, can still have some decent matches, and he'll go through an announce table or something like that to add a bit of emphasis to the match. I personally think that Drew and Shane are going to win this one. And you do that by Drew pinning the Undertaker. And then that builds their matches, and then that builds their match at SummerSlam.
The Graveyard Dogs, guys. Like,
what would be an equally bad team to call the Shane McMahon and Drew McIntyre thing? I've been trying to think about that, and the only two I could think of were the MCs and the Mac Daddies. What's another equally bad counterpart name to the Graveyard Dogs?
I'm trying to think.
The best psychopaths in the world.
Well, I guess if there's no real connection with the Graveyard Dog thing, like that's not a phrase or whatever, it could be like, the money bag pipes or something like
the money bag pipes.
Yeah. Here comes the Mackies.
Well, I think we're giving this far too much credit by thinking that they'll actually add a lot of chaos and bells and whistles. I think you'll see stairs, you'll see tables, and chairs and kendo sticks because they're formulaic. I do think we're getting a run-in from Kevin Owens, who will ultimately stun Shane and allow Roman Reigns to hit a Superman punch into a chokeslam, into a tombstone, 1, 2, 3, and it'll be something having to do with Shane and Kevin at SummerSlam with Undertaker and McIntyre at SummerSlam.
You kind of leaked into basically thinking about the big match at SummerSlam. I know, just to take a second of fantasy booking time, but in terms of these, I think this match directly correlates to, not directly correlates, but there's 4 matches in the final 3 matches we discussed that coming out of SummerSlam for me, which is Brock Lesnar against Seth Rollins, The Undertaker against Drew McIntyre, Shane McMahon against Kevin Owens, and Roman Reigns versus Kofi Kingston. It's kind of where I see things shaping out for those guys.
I don't see the Reigns Kingston thing.
Well, I just think Reigns, I think with Shane McMahon and Kevin Owens clearly moving into a feud, and that will likely be the match at SummerSlam, what do you do with Roman Reigns? Do you just give him Drew McIntyre again? You don't want to do that again.
Hope not.
So Roman has to be in a big match on the card, and he's been out of the title picture for long enough now. So you just have a friendly, essentially a match built around respect, because at SummerSlam they do these babyface title matches quite often. So I wouldn't be surprised if they decide this is the opportunity to give Roman his title match against Kofi. He beats Kofi, they show respect afterwards, and then you can start Roman on a good foot.
Tough call, especially with the whole Bischoff and Heyman thing.
Yeah, I understand that. But I just, like, who else does Roman face at SummerSlam? The only other option would be that Reigns and Undertaker lose, Undertaker gets pissed at Roman Reigns, and then they fight at SummerSlam.
Reigns versus Sasha.
We've seen that with The Undertaker recently, where it was like...
I thought you were talking about the Sasha Roman match for a second.
Yeah, that was confused about that for a second, too.
Where, Triple H beat him. Oh, shit, they're pissed off for no good reason, so they're going to fight again. So that could happen. And this is personal, whether it's against Shane, Roman, or McIntyre. I'd like to see a casket match or some kind of kooky Undertaker gimmick match, because those are fun.
Maybe they do something like they mix everybody together and they do an elimination match, and it's like Reigns, Owens, Miz,
and the Usos.
And the Usos, yeah, against McMahon, McIntyre, Elias, and the Revival. Maybe they do something like that.
You're leaving out the Undertaker.
Well, Undertaker could face Kofi Kingston for the title. You know, because
Undertaker could just not be doing anything. He could
I think
be waiting. You know,
I think
it could
be
Undertaker and McIntyre.
But you really think they would use him at Extreme Rules and not use him at SummerSlam?
Yeah, because Extreme Rules needs it, and SummerSlam they'll have other things. They'll have Ronda Rousey or something. You know,
I think it's highly, highly unlikely that Undertaker would just come back for an Extreme Rules show and not be at SummerSlam.
Hey, look at we had a whole setup thing with Brock Lesnar before where he was only popping up on the Big Four, and he ended up wrestling at Great Balls of Fire.
Yeah, I don't see what you're trying to explain that side of things, because he ended up wrestling all the Big Four matches. So
yeah, but I'm saying
Undertaker would still wrestle the Big Four matches.
He would still wrestle, yeah.
But I'm saying there's the precedent of well, these are the way that things happen doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to go down that way. I mean, we didn't imagine that he was going to be wrestling at Extreme Rules. So maybe he is going to pop up at Extreme Rules and they save him for the Saudi Arabia show in November.
That's an awful idea.
I think I'd be very surprised. The only thing I think that prevents Undertaker from wrestling at SummerSlam is if he gets injured in this match. And even that doesn't seem to stop him at this point.
Well, now that's the end of the card, right? I'm forgetting anything else. They didn't add anything else to the last one?
Hold on, let me check to see if they've added, because I know that there's a rumor that they're going to add Nakamura and Finn Balor and the women's tag title, but I don't see that happening.
I don't think that's happening.
Maybe the Nakamura one.
At least right now, it doesn't seem like they've added anything.
Yeah, so let's move on before they change their mind.
Yeah,
Have we even given our predictions for these ones?
Just in case, I'm going to say Nakamura wins the title and the Kabuki Warriors also win because go Japan.
No, that would be Kabuki Warriors and Finn Balor retaining, I think.
Yeah, right. Finn Balor and Kabuki Warriors.
And Britt Baker beats Bea Priestley.
And Dark Order goes on to All Out.
Yeah, Dark Order wins, and Sunny Kiss wins. There you go.
There you go. All right.
So, we will be breaking down what happens on this card on the post-show. Of course, the next thing that's going to be happening is going to be the Fight for the Fallen predictions, so stay tuned for that, everybody.
No. Post-show.
Yeah, post-show. Yeah, we already did the predictions. Oh my god, my brain. And then we will do the Extreme Rules post-show, and then we will be breaking down Evolve 131 on the hot tags next week, and I'm not too sure exactly what our main event is going to be next week. We might not have a main event beyond the Round 5 finals of the Sexy Superstars tournament. We might just kind of take a little bit of time off because of the insanity that's this weekend. I don't know. We'll see. Drop a comments below. Tell us any suggestions, what you would have to have. That's another blank week unless they change something. So that would be the winner reveal and the full breakdown of the tournament. And potentially something else. I don't know. Maybe like I was thinking about doing fantasy booking SummerSlam somewhere along the way here, and at the same time, I really don't think that I want to do that this year at all. So maybe that's not going to be the case. Maybe we'll do a Mount Rushmore. Maybe we'll do a brand new segment. I don't know. Maybe we won't do anything. Maybe I'll take a week off. Yeah, that'll happen. If you are on iTunes and Stitcher and Google Play and Spotify and all that stuff, leave us a rating, give us a like, whatever those platforms have. If you're on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, give us a like, follow us, favorite us, share us, all that other kind of stuff like that. By all means, leave your comments wherever you are, whether it's smarkoutmoment.com or the other kind of sides of things. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Stay tuned to what these guys have going as well on their social media platforms and everything else that they've got. Callum?
2001 A Wrestling Odyssey, the series where me and Rob go back in time to the year wrestling changed forever. We've got episodes on the YouTube channel, iTunes, all the other places where our podcast is out there. So check out all the episodes we've got from between January and June. The July one will be coming out sometime towards the end of the month, when I have time to research it, obviously. Weekly articles, check out all those, including the Power Rankings, which is the one that I contribute. You can follow me on Twitter at Weekmaster14. I'm hopefully going to be a bit more active than I usually am, which is virtually non-existent at this point in time when the G1 starts, because for the first time I'm going to be tracking basically every single show as soon as I possibly can. I won't be live tweeting because essentially I've got to work and the time difference is too great. So, but when I do get the chance to watch them, I'll be retroactively tweeting about them. So follow me then and see my rambles about Okada and how great he is. Rob?
And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DudeFelice. I mainly have auto feeds, but sometimes I'll occasionally tweet something. You can also check out eWrestling News, the WrestleZone Daily podcast, the Ring Report, Time Killer Apparel, the weekly articles at Smark Out Moment. You should donate to the Patreon. And yeah, that's it.
And I got all my plugs out of the way, so thank you for listening to this, everybody. Follow me on all the other kind of things like Tony Mango and AWN and Bleacher Report for everything that I haven't said. But for most importantly, out of all that stuff, smarkoutmoment.com. You'll find everything there. So thank you for listening to 2 hours of Extreme Rules talk. That I was planning on this being an hour long, and we ended up having a lot to say, which that's good. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for listening. We will see you next time. This has been another Smark Out Moment, and we're being counted out.